Welcome to another edition of the combo video series. This week we're going to talk about the combo that Lekit played in the weekly Swedish Spoils video that Spoil Sweden uploads. I'll link the game somewhere so you guys can watch it if you haven't seen it yet. It is a new infinite damage combo. It is 4 trades, as you can see over here. It's very hard to stop. Best counter to it is Rogue. We'll talk about that in the end of the video though. So first, let's talk about the combo. In order for this combo to loop infinitely, there is some setup to it. First, you need 11 resources. The ones you need for the specific combo, you're going to need 3 Obsession Threshold, 2 Elitism Threshold, and a Warlord or a Rage Threshold. And you have to have a Dragon Strategy in the discard pile, a Dark Awakening in the discard pile, 2 All-Nighters in the discard pile, this, that, or the other thing in the discard pile, and then a Dark Awakening either in your hand or face down. We'll just put face down. And the other important thing is the deck you draw from, your draw deck, has to be completely empty. And that's because when this, that, or the other thing puts a card in the deck, you want to be able to draw it. So your draw deck has to be completely empty. That's probably the hardest part. That's why you see this 5 Thresh Banker that he runs in this. That's what makes it the 4 trades. Because Banker is the best at quickly running through your cards. So if you watch the video, he runs Selective Gluttony, which will let you draw 10, discard 9, which is fine because you want a bunch of cards in your discard pile. He runs Mal Parties, which is for life gain, but it also draws you 5 cards. And then once you throw in, and then he lives, because this is actually a characterless build, he lives by playing multiple gold summons. So he'll have 1 or 2 gold summons out in play. So 2 gold summons in play, when you play Selective Gluttony, draw 10 cards, become draw 10 cards, and gain 20 influence. So he just offset pretty much any damage that might have been done to him at that point. And so again, if you watch the video, you see that happen. Like his opponent is being aggro against him and beating him down. And then he finally gets a couple gold summons out and he pulls off a Selective Gluttony, which a lot of times will draw you into either A, another Selective Gluttony, or B, another Mal Party, or some other way to, because he has a lot of ways to draw cards, and some other way to draw a bunch of cards. So, and then he just kept gaining a bunch of influence. He ended the game around 60 influence when he was at 8 or 9, like he was really close to dead, and then he ended the game at 60 something. So that's the setup. That's why the greed is in here, because you need a way to empty your draw deck. And as I mentioned, that is the hardest part of pulling this off, is being able to empty that quickly enough in order to start this combo before your opponent kills you. Aggro decks this deck kind of loses to aggro decks. If they're aggro fast enough, and you can't get your gold summons out to start drawing cards and regaining some influence, aggro decks will definitely kill you. Alright, so we have emptied our draw deck. Everything's in the discard pile. I have to put a discard pile over here. Okay, and we have our 11 resources open. We have our Dark Awakening face down. So let's talk about how this combo works now. And this is where it's pretty simple. There's only really about 8 steps that you loop through continuously. So first we're going to pay 2, and we're going to flip up Dark Awakening, picking this, that, or the other thing. Now when you pick it, you still have to pay the cost. So now we're going to pay 5 to play this, that, or the other thing. This, that, or the other thing, now we played it, we need to pick 3 tactics in our discard pile. In the first iteration, we're going to pick 2 All-Nighters and a Dark Awakening. And once we've picked all 3, shuffle 1 card into your deck. We're going to put one of the All-Nighters into our deck, which is why your deck has to be empty, because you need to make sure to get this Dark Awakening back. So if your deck is not empty, then you're not going to be able to reliably get this card. I'm going to put it here into our deck. All right. We're going to take one, put it into control's face down a resource. We're going to choose the Dark Awakening, obviously, because that's flip up as our face down resource. And then we're going to put this other All-Nighter into our hand. So this resolves this out of the other thing. That goes to the discard pile now. Now our Dark Awakening, the next part is it, after you play the card, draw a card. So now we're going to draw this Dark Awakening, or this All-Nighter that we just put there. So now we have 2 All-Nighters in our hand. We're going to go and play 1 All-Nighter, which is pay 4, and restore 9. So I'm going to get these 4 back, plus 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we still have, now we still have 1 All-Nighter in our hand right here. So now we still have 1 All-Nighter in our hand. So we're going to go and use, now we're going to pay 2. We're going to use our second Dark Awakening. We're going to pick this out of the other thing. So we're going to go and pay 5 for this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to, this time we're going to pick the only 3 tactical, and this is example, but we're going to pick Dragon Strategy, Dark Awakening, and All-Nighter. Again, we're going to put Dragon Strategy into our deck. We're going to go and put Dark Awakening face down, and we're going to go and put All-Nighter into our hand. This goes away. Dark Awakening finishes resolving, so we draw a card. So we draw a Dragon Strategy. Now that we have this, I'm going to go and play All-Nighter. So we're going to pay 4. And then we're going to restore 9, so get those 4 back, plus 5. Alright, this goes away. Now we're going to go and play our Dragon Strategy, pay 3. And this is where we win with it. Dragon Strategy says your opponent loses 2 influence. So if they're at 25, they're now down to 23. This also lets you draw a card, but since our deck is empty, we don't have any cards. Sorry about the artwork. Apparently the beta Dragon Strategy is the only ones I own. I don't own any first editions. And sadly it wasn't reprinted in second. So Dragon Strategy goes away. And now we're going to go and play our second All-Nighter. So we're going to go and pay 4. And then we're going to restore 9. So we get those 4 back in 3, 4, 5. So this goes away. And now we're back to where we started one. We have 11 resources open. We have all 5 cards initially in the discard pile. And we have this Dark Awakening face down. So now we can just restart this loop over. We pay 2. So we pay 2 for this. We play this. We get back this, that, the other thing. We get back our All-Nighters and our Dark Awakenings. We're going to play 1 All-Nighter. And then we'll get back the All-Nighter, Dark Awakening, and Dragon Strategy. And then we just loop continually the same way we did it. So again, here we'll go through another iteration real fast since we already did it. So pay 2, pick this, pay 5. Again, All-Nighter, All-Nighter, Dark Awakening face down. We're going to All-Nighter for 4, which is going to net us 5. We have 1 All-Nighter in our hand, so these all go away. Okay, and now we're going to go and go 2 again for this one. Now we're going to this Dark Awakening. We're going to get Dark Awakening, Dragon Strategy, All-Nighter. Dark Awakening's face down. I'm sorry, I had to pay 5 for this, that, or the other thing. So now we're going to All-Nighter to get back our 5 that we just paid. And then we're going to Dragon Strategy for 3, make them lose 2. And then we're going to, again, All-Nighter to get back these 5. And we wind back up where we started. So as you can see, it's a really easy combo. Like I said, there's only about 8 steps to it. And that is how you win with this, is you just keep infinitely looping the All-Nighters and the Dragon Strategies. That is the combo. How do you beat this combo? As I mentioned earlier, being aggressive is one of the primary ways to beat this deck. They have to have their deck empty. So they cannot start this combo reliably until you get this deck empty. If they have 5 cards in their deck, here, 5 cards in their deck right here. When we use this, that, the other thing, we shuffle in this All-Nighter into this deck. Now there's only a 1 of 6 chance that they're going to draw the card they need. So we draw a card. Look, it's a resource. That means that there's still a bunch more cards they have to go through before they can get the All-Nighter they need. So just, as I said, 5 cards in a deck can be enough to slow this combo down. So being aggressive is a good way to beat this deck. If they play a Gold Summit, because that's what they use to sustain their life or their influence, so they get multiple Gold Summits out and then they draw a bunch of cards to the game. If they get a Gold Summit out, you need to kill that Gold Summit as fast as possible. You cannot let them keep a Gold Summit out. You cannot let them gain a bunch of influence off of it. Other than that, you just need to keep attacking. Just be very aggressive because this deck is very slow. The absolute best way really to stop this deck is Rogue with Opportunistic Pirate, because it will remove these tactics from the game. So you just start removing, you remove the All-Nighters, the Dragon Strategies, this, that, and the other thing. You remove the Dark Awakenings. The Dark Awakenings are not as big of a problem as these other ones. So if you have a Heist Planner, you can Heist Planner their deck, start searching out these combo pieces that you know they're going to need. And then when they do use the Dark Awakening, if they don't use it yet, if you have 4 tactics in there that you know you need to get rid of, for example, if you get all 4 of their All-Nighters in the discard pile, and then you use one Opportunistic Pirate to remove from game all 4 of those All-Nighters, then do it, because this is what would stop them. If you can remove all 4 of this out of the other things, alright, because if they don't, all they need is they just need 1. They have 4 in the deck. So if you just remove from game 3, but you leave them 1 to work with, it's not worth it. By saving them until they use the Dark Awakening, picking cards, and then you remove cards is a good way, because then the Dark Awakening is wasted. It just goes away and does nothing. So actually, you probably wouldn't do it in response to Dark Awakening. You probably let them pay 2 for Dark Awakening, and then you let them pay 5 for this, that, or the other thing to play it, and then you remove the 3 tactics they picked with this, which is going to be one of the Dark Awakenings for sure, because then they just wasted 7 and they got nothing out of it, because the deck is empty, they won't even draw a card. So yeah, so then you just remove like All-Nighters and stuff that they picked with it, and it'll stop them up. It'll slow them down a lot if you can do that. So you need to get those things out of the game, remove from game for good. You could also try Incriminating Photograph in Rogue. Incriminating Photograph, naming, this deck also runs a muddle. So your first Incriminating Photograph, not muddle, it runs an Inhibit. So if you play an Incriminating Photograph, like your first one would almost have to be Inhibit, just so it doesn't prevent all the other ones from being stopped as well. But yeah, you want to name this, that, or the other thing, and you want to name Dark Awakening. Maybe you want to if you just name All-Nighter, that'll stop it. Again, you need it. And the one thing with Inhibit is that he has a 1 copy of it in his deck, but because it's a tactic, if the first thing he can do is, instead of starting the loop with Dragon Strategy, he'll start the loop with Inhibit, and so he can cycle through this as many times as he wants using Inhibit to inhibit anything you have that would stop this combo from happening. So he can cycle through that as many times as needed to counteract all the photographs. So the first photograph would have to be Inhibit, I think. Banker has a pretty hard time. Limited Liability does not actually stop this combination, because Dragon Strategy says your opponent loses 2 influence. Limited Liability only stops damage from happening. Influence loss is not the same as damage loss. So that's important to remember. Limited Liability will not stop this combo. You could use Armored Keep, maybe. With Armored Keep, Armored Keep just says you do not lose the game if your influence is at 0. So you can play an Armored Keep and you can live. However, if they have an Inhibit in their discard pile, then they can just inhibit the Armored Keep, which means it has no rules text, and then you would lose the game. The other thing, maybe a Repo Man or a Property Condemner the Banker has, because the other way to stop this is again to stop them from gaining the influence. So those cards will destroy locations, so you can just immediately destroy the gold summons they have. Warlord also has another rough time with this. They have a Blazing Zero, which is actually pretty good, and even a Tactician Vacation, which is good as well, because it will. So if you do it in response to this, that, or the other thing, it'll stop it for this turn. But again, if they have another Dark Awakening in their hand or face down, then they can just restart the cycle next turn, because all that really did is just stop a Dark Awakening from happening, and that just went to the discard pile. So ABZ though is a little bit good, because that would put like this, that, or the other thing face down. And with face down cards, his current build doesn't have any way to get them from face down. So if you can get enough of them face down, like if you get all 4 of them face down, you can start. Again, they only need 1. So you'd have to have all 4 ABZ target all 4 one thing. So that can be rough. And this deck currently doesn't run it, but talking with Leckett, I told him, the one of the things you have is, face down cards. So we're discussing probably adding in a Foment, which is a tactic, an Arcanist tactic, where it costs 0 or it costs 1. I'll have the card image up, where you pick up a face down resource you control, and then you can put down another card. or another, yeah, you can play another resource. So with Foment, if all of this other things are face down, you can pick it up. And again, a 1x Foment, because of this cycle we have, even when this dragon strategy can be replaced by pretty much any other tactic that's 3 or less. So this dragon strategy can be replaced by a Foment or an Inhibit, and these other pieces to keep looping tactics, it will still happen. So you can loop any number of tactics that you need to loop, to get out of the bind you're in. So if you need to pick up a bunch of face down stuff, you can just keep looping Foment. So Warlord also has a rep. Gearsmith is another one that the only answer I could come up with in Gearsmith is Hilarious Refrigerating Alarm. That's it. And it would just terminate. That only stops it again for a turn, provided they're going to have more Dark Awakenings face down or in their hand. Yes, you get some micro jigs off of it. Again, Gearsmith just has to be aggressive. They have to be aggressive. They have to stop. Maybe HRA you don't save for the combo. Maybe HRA you save for selective gluttonies and stuff, so they can't draw cards. So a lot of cards need to be used to attack the deck before it starts comboing. Once it gets to the combo point, the only trade that can do anything about it is Rogue with Opportunistic Fire. Once it gets to that combo point, everybody else can just delay it or slow it down, but there's no stopping it at that point. So everything has to be targeted at not letting them get to this point. So Arcanist, they have Day of Tentacle and Tentacle, things that'll let you look at face downs and destroy face downs. So you can try to get rid of Dark Awakenings or at least target them early. They can respond and use the Dark Awakening, but if you can get it early enough before they have a lot of stuff in the discard pile, you can make them potentially wasted. And you also have the other good card that will also stop them, but only for a turn, is Quotidian Misfire. That's any time a card would go into their hand, they discard it instead. So when you put this All-Nighter into the deck, and then you draw a card, and when this All-Nighter would go into the hand, you discard it instead, which stops them from being able to infinitely sustain. Again, though, that's only one turn. So for that turn, that one All-Nighter went away, and so now they can't combo off that turn. But again, if you don't kill them next turn, then on their next turn, they'll just start the cycle again. So the key element to stopping this deck is kill them before they start comboing. You have to be aggressive, or you have to be rogue. That's essentially, you have to be aggressive or you have to be rogue. Once they start this combo, once they have all these key pieces, there's no real stopping it unless you can get lucky and get all 4 Dark Awakenings in the discard pile and all 4 of this, that, or the other things in the discard pile. If you can get all their combo pieces in the discard pile so they don't have anything left to recur, then you might be okay. But the chances of that happening are pretty slim. He also runs in his list, he also runs 2 Writ of Reclamations, which is, you remove 3 cards from your discard pile and then you shuffle 3 cards into your deck. So since he has no deck, he can just get back this, that, the other things, Dark Awakenings. He can just get those back easily if he needs to. They're not part of the win condition, but they are a good backup strategy. Okay, thanks for watching. For those that like combo videos, or combo decks, I hope you give it a try. It's pretty fun because it feeds the combo desire. It's like, okay, I'm just going to do infinite damage, which is always fun. Those that do not like combo videos, I hope you don't have to play against it, because it's a very kind of infuriating or annoying deck to play against, because this is a very solitary deck. They don't care what their opponent is doing. They care about one thing. They care about drawing their deck out. They care about drawing a bunch of cards. They care about getting their gold summit in place so they have enough influence to not die. But other than that, they don't really care what you're doing. They don't care how many guys you're playing, because again, this is characterless deck. They don't really care about anything but drawing cards and staying alive, just so they can get to the point of, okay, now I'm going to combo you off. So it can be a very annoying deck to play against. If you haven't watched the Spoil Sweden video yet of this deck, go watch it so you can see this deck in action, and you can see what I'm talking about, where his opponent was playing Warlord and got him down to about 8 influence, I believe, and then he finally hit the point where he could just combo this deck off, and like I said, he ended the game with 60. So go watch that. I'll put a link. Again, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed.